Hey guys, Eric here from subliminallyawesome.com. I recently had a chance to play around with iPhone OS 4. I actually got it on my phone, and I wanted to give you guys kind of a review of some of the great features. First off, there have always been the backgrounds, but Apple did add backgrounds in the operating system, which is nice. You know, most other operating systems have this for a while. But it's nice to see them put it in here without a jailbreak. The settings are pretty identical. That looks kind of too bright. Let's back that down maybe. That looks pretty good. So settings pretty much the same. You have all your different settings here. Some of the icons are a little bit different. The phone icon's a bit different. There's the new dock. But just for example, if I go in and I open up my messaging application, I haven't sent a text message since I've installed the OS, so there's nothing there. But then maybe I want to go back to settings. I can just double tap this home button, and I get all the apps that I've recently launched here. And of course, the ones that are going to come up first are the ones that that are still open. So in this case, I can go into settings, and it'll bring that settings up exactly where I left it off. If I'm in mail, and I want to go back to the messaging application, again, that's right where I left it off. Another cool thing they introduced that they didn't show off was the ability to have your music controls are down here, for your widgets, and also a portrait lock, which is super cool. Software portrait lock. Not a big thing, but it is very nice. And of course, you can still go back home. When you look for the task switcher on any screen, it'll just bump it up, make everything else transparent, and that's pretty sweet. Another thing introduced was folders. So here I've created a folders of the Apple utilities that I don't really need on my home screen. So to open up a folder, it just kind of cracks the screen in half. It's kind of a cool animation. It makes it look kind of slick like Apple does with most things. And those are really cool. I'll show you how to create one. It's pretty intuitive. I mean, it makes sense. You just hold on an icon and then drag it on top of another icon. It'll create a folder. It'll give you an option to name the folder, based on what icons you put in there. You can name that different things. Actually don't want this folder, so it'll bring those back. But you can have up to 9 icons in a folder, and this is what a full 9 icon folder looks like. I don't know why they didn't just go with 12 and fill up the box, but whatever. So that's really nice. Another thing is Game Center, and really there aren't many games that work with this yet, so it's kind of hard to test it out. But you can create an account, sign in, and then you can compare achievements and all sorts of different stats for different games you play on the iPhone. Another thing they introduced, and you won't really see it here, but when you're taking a picture, and you tap to focus, it actually has to get a focus. Let's see if I can tap. And you get a focus. It'll give you this zoom slider here across the bottom, which allows you to. It's all digital, but zoom in and out for your pictures. Also, they changed the video capture slightly so that you can now touch to focus in the video, so you get that different focus point. And you can't see here because the camera I'm using is, this whole video is super blurry, but it did grab a pretty cool focus there. The unified mailbox, I haven't really tested it out because I have all my mail ported through Gmail anyway, so I only have one mailbox. So I haven't had a chance to test that out. Getting this, the firmware is really, it seems, I know they're launching it, in a month and a half. So they're probably near kind of their final release, but it seemed really solid. I haven't had it crash at all yet, whether it was during a call or browsing the internet, which also seems to be pretty responsive. They have changed just little UI tweaks that are nice. So that's been awesome. The iPod looks, the same. They haven't really, cosmetically, they didn't change a lot, which is kind of, I kind of wish they had. But, you can't get it all. All right, so it's over. So one thing that kind of is an issue so far is that because Apple hasn't officially released iPhone OS 4 yet, the apps don't know how to communicate. Apple is releasing their SDK, so apps can communicate and ask for additional time, whether they're trying to play music. So, for example, if you go into Pandora, open up Pandora, and start a radio station playing. So here's this station. But currently, if I exit out of this, it's going to kill it because Pandora doesn't, this version of the application doesn't know how to ask for that additional runtime. So until it's released, the apps aren't going to be pushed into the App Store that can do that. But as far as, going from Safari to, 3 settings deep in TweetDeck or whatever, that's still really nice. So anyway, that's my experience with the iPhone OS 4. I was lucky enough to get it, and I'm planning on keeping it as as the firmware on my phone, just because it hasn't really been buggy at all. And I've been super happy with it. I'm excited for them to come out with it for the iPad, which I hope to have again by this fall when it comes out for the iPad. This firmware will be released this summer when Apple announces and releases the new iPhone. But until then, it's pretty sweet. Just some of those little features that I don't need to jailbreak it for. Another thing I didn't take a look at, but it's also kind of new, is the ability to set a wallpaper, which has of course been around forever on every other device. So if I go into like Apple's stock wallpapers, and let's see, then when I choose a wallpaper, when I go into Apple's wallpapers and I choose a wallpaper, it will give me the option to set it as, the lock screen, home screen, or both. In this case, I don't want a flower, so I'm going to not do that. Anyway, this is my review of the iPhone OS 4. We will be reviewing it again this week on Subliminally Awesome, so check it out at subliminallyawesome.com. Thanks, guys.